everybody. It is Sharon and Sarah here from Content Sparks. And today we have another brand new white label course for you that we're going to go through kind of a high level of what the key points are and what it covers, and give you a peek inside and answer your questions about it and all that fun stuff. And it's another one of those topics that I know is near and dear to Sarah's heart. In fact, we were just yakking away. We were yakking away about it and just realized it was showtime. So, if you're just coming on, I will give you the URL to it as people come on. We'll just yak a little for a bit and give people a chance to get in there.
Here's the URL. Earlier this year, I can't remember which one I thought it was. I think it might have been Low Ticket Offers was my favourite. But now I've seen this just knocks the socks off of it. This is now my new favourite. And I think it's something, that's really powerful. And as you just reminded me, I found you through guest posting. I saw a guest post that you'd written and followed you back to Business Content PLR, as it was in those days. That's where I followed you back to. And we can't talk anymore about specifics of how much I've spent because my husband's probably watching. I didn't spend very much at all.
Yeah, I remember asking you, how did you find me? And you told me what blog post. Really? Through a guest blog post? Oh, okay. I guess that was worth doing. And it didn't take me that much time to do. It was a topic I knew about, and I was just able to rattle it off. Somebody had asked me for something, so that was easy, which is not always so easy, especially if you're new to it, which is why we have the course, and it's going to walk through step by step how to actually do that, find the places to blog, pick out topics, reach out to potential guest blog hosts, all that different fun stuff, and how to actually write it and be a good guest blogger. So shall we just jump in and take a look at some of the stuff?
I think so. I think we do, because it is such good stuff. I know that people are going to be so excited when they see this. Right. I know I was. And, it's perk of the role. You get to see these a little bit before everyone else. Hi, Kevin. See, I knew he was watching.
He is here. All right, so let's hop over. I am going to share my screen, and let's add that. So I'm going to keep us up here for the moment, so we're here. And that is the URL in there. And definitely, if you're just coming on, say hi, ask any questions, post them in the comments, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube. If you're on LinkedIn, I don't think I can see the comments or your name, but I can definitely respond and stuff in StreamYard here. So put in your comments, say hi, tell us if you've guest blogged before and where. We want to hear all about it. And meanwhile, I'm going to take this down so you can see what we're looking at. And right here, I'm just over on the page that is going to be the sales page. That's what that URL was, contentsparks.com/guest blogging. But I'm going to hop over into some of the material. And when you get the course, you get student materials, instructor materials, and lead generation materials, plus there's some other goodies. And one of the main things in there is the course book, but I like to open up the action guide. And with this particular course, there's more than just an action guide. There's some other sort of worksheets, but I want to show you the action guide because that's what I like to look through when I first look at a course. So
look at that. Lots of lessons there. Can you see that? That's fabulous, isn't it?
So I'm not going to I'll walk through all this in a second. I just want to show you that there is an action guide. It's 44 pages, but when you teach something like this, you would break it up. So there's an introduction, there's several lessons. So you don't want to overwhelm people. There's lessons in each module. You've got finding guest blogging opportunities, how to do that. And it goes through, figuring out a niche, finding blogs, expanding your search, not just focusing on blogs that you already know, looking at what to look for in a blog host, because you're not going to necessarily write for anyone. how to pitch site owners, researching them. So there's a lot of stuff in here, brainstorming, post ideas, all the important steps for getting started with guest blogging, making connections, and then actually writing the post and headlines. And so I'm just skimming through so you can see all the different things people are going to be doing as they go through. It's a pretty in-depth course. And there's other things in there you're going to help them with, like if you're writing guest blog posts, you need to, as always, figure out who your ideal customer is. So who's your ideal reader? Because you always want to keep that in mind. You're not going to write guest posts on something that's completely unrelated to your business, because while that's nice and you might be doing someone a favor, it's not going to get you the people. So the time investment you put in is not going to get you the results that you want. So you need to always look at that. And you also need to figure out, there's a sheet on finding your niche. This is your niche for guest blogging, because as a guest blogger, you will be showing off your expertise on a topic. And again, that's what attracts your ideal customer back to your site. So you think about that and keywords you want to rank for and things like that. And this is a great thing that comes in here, which is that you need to keep track of places that you pitch, blogs that you pitch to, topics that you've written about and pitched, dates, when it's gone live, all that kind of stuff, contact information. So you're going to keep one spreadsheet. You can do it in your own, to put it up in Google Sheets or something like that. But you want to keep one spreadsheet where you're keeping track of all that stuff. So there is one in here that you can use. And the other thing that's great in here that you can use is a pitch template. So this can get you started also with what to actually write when you're pitching a guest blog, right?
That's a
Blog.
really handy template to have, because quite often people informally arrange a guest blog post, but as you get up the chain from the people around you, the people you meet in groups, and you want to get onto really big sites, then you're going to need to pitch properly. And to have a template really just eases the pressure of, what do I say? And it can be quite intimidating. So that's a really handy thing to have. And I'm pretty sure if you were delivering this program, just offering that to your students will relieve some of the pressure they're feeling.
Yeah, it would actually be a really good lead magnet too. To say, here, for instance, if you were to use the opt-in report as your lead generation, remember this is a Blaze, so it comes with those lead generation materials. Or if you get it in the first few days, you get that as a challenge kit. You might say, okay, go to the end or make it through to the end, and I'll give you this bonus. And then this is part of our bigger course, which has all this other stuff in it. So it could be that also. And I just want to point out, I get these all the time. These emails, some of them are so long and I don't even read them. Some of them are so short that, again, it's like, why would I read this? So you definitely want to follow this kind of thing where you catch people's attention and you give them a real reason to actually use your guest blog or your guest post. But there are a lot of websites that don't accept guest posts at all. And that's why some of the portions in this course are really good, because they step you through how to actually find the right opportunities, how to search for them. There are keywords you can use to search for opportunities, because there are some blogs that always accept guest posts, and those are great places. So that's one thing that's really useful in here. But I know, Sarah, you wanted to look at some stuff in the slideshow.
I did, because one of the big things, I was very lucky, because when I started blogging was in its renaissance period, and I was surrounded by people on places like Twitter. This is late 2006, early 2007. So Twitter was just toddling at that stage. It probably wasn't even out of nappies as a social media site. And I was surrounded by other bloggers, and we would chat to each other backwards and forwards. And then somebody would say, well, why don't you do a guest post? And they'll say, oh, could I do one too? And they're like, sure, the more the merrier. And before you know it, you've got 5 or 6 guest blog posts to write. Now, I enjoyed writing. That's, I have fallen in love with writing phases, and oh my gosh, not another word is coming out of my fingertips phases. And at that point, I was really, really in love with writing and writing lots and lots of blog posts. And back then, we could get away with 300 to 500 words. Can't do that anymore. But back then, I could. So I could do 5 or 6 guest posts a week. And that was really good for helping elevate our transport business in the search engines, because we had a highly competitive phrase, which was same day courier. And if we were on the bottom of the front page of Google for the phrase same day courier, we would get 5 or 6 new customers a day. And that's being on the bottom of the front page. A couple of times I managed to get us into 6th and 7th. And at that point, Kevin's like, no more. But it's a really hard, because it's so competitive, because it's so valuable. Lots of professional SEOs are targeting that keyword. So that means as a small business owner, as a course creator, as somebody who's trying to get found for certain phrases, we have to double down on what works, and guest posting works, because that's essentially what an SEO company does for you. They create a guest post and pitch it to somebody, and you get the backlink to your site. So what you're doing is so good for your own SEO. I can't tell you the amount of joy it brought us in terms of getting us up the search engines and helping our businesses become profitable. The most guest posts I've ever done in one time frame is 39. I done in January 2011. I was all over the place. I was in Search Engine Journal twice. I was in Blog Herald, which was a big blog back then. I was all over the place, and I got to tell you, didn't sleep much. It was like juggling with fire. You're like, oh, throwing them in the air constantly. It was, and I would recommend that you don't actually go for the 39 in a month. By all means, when you're more experienced, go for it. But I wasn't that experienced when I just said yes to everybody, and I said yes to big opportunities, and I just pushed and pushed. And a couple of weeks after I'd done that push, I actually broke my wrist. And I think that was God's way of saying, stop writing. We're sick of you on the internet now. So you can really get into this. You can really level up your SEO doing the guest posting. And if there's something that you really want to get on the front page of Google for, this is the way that you do it, because this is what an SEO company would do for you. They would create the content. They would charge you $100 plus per article, and then they would do all of the chasing and the submitting for you. But for 10 links to improve your position and your ranking, that's $1,000. And this course is what, $97 on launch?
Yep.
Yeah. And you can easily write your own guest post. Can we move to that module?
Okay.
I think it's module 3. This is
let me
so powerful.
Skim through. So these were all the benefits of guest blogging. And I'll just skim through the slides. There's a whole roadmap of the course in here that you can see also on the sales page, which was that contentsparks.com/guest blogging. That was this.
Yep.
So I won't walk through it all, but it does go through step by step through identifying your blogs to pitch, finding opportunities, choosing topics, researching, connecting. I showed you that pitch template that's in there and everything else. And then there's actually writing the post, which you could hire out somebody to do, but you want them to be good, not just the usual crap, basically, that you get from a lot of writing services. But that will cost you. So there's also an article, module in here. This is a big course. So let me just point out that when you edit it, you want to look out for where one module and lesson ends and another one begins. And what we did is we use a certain style on here. So you can see
that's
it's
really
bigger.
good. That will save me hours of time.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. 10 points.
Yeah, this was based on some feedback. So we had some slides in here on our previous ones that have little graphics, and we got feedback that people never use it. They're mostly recording it now. It's just as easy to do this in person as to record as a video, but we found it's easier to edit all in one and then break it up. So just look out for the action steps. That's always the last
that was
one.
gone. I'm so glad, because all I seem to do is go through removing those, throwing those out. I'm going to save so much time.
So every time, if you're recording or presenting this as a course, make sure the action steps you can see is the last slide in that section. Then you do whatever you're doing. If it's the end of your video and you get back on camera and say, okay, go off and do your action steps, and I'll see you tomorrow or in the next video, that's the beginning of the next video. So just a little tip there when you're recording, because I know some people in our feedback have said they have trouble figuring out where to end and where to begin. It's very simple. Action steps is your last slide.
And
then
Cheryl
there's a
agrees.
module.
She says it really helps to see those markers when editing.
Excellent.
Well, keep going.
I just saw. Okay, all right. I'm going. So that's still module 1 is actually pretty long. And what else?
Lesson 5. So 5 lessons in module 1. That's excellent.
Was there 5?
You're getting a really comprehensive guest blogging program, which just goes to show Content Sparks really listens to their customers, and we don't get just a sort of show up, ask for the guest post, ta-da, you're a guest blogger. We actually get really good, strong, actionable content.
I know you want me to go to module 3, but I just want to point out something in module 2. So you can see, I'm scrolling through, I can see module 2 is how to pitch guest blog owners, because that's where you're coming up with a lot of your topics. And you can see in the way we formatted the slides, every time there's a module that begins, you give a quick little overview of what's going to be covered in that module. So in this case, it's module 2 is how to pitch guest blog owners. Module
can I tell a little story about that? My big site where I had loads and loads of traffic was called Birds on the Blog. Right? And as you can see, my name's Sarah. And I would get people send me emails saying, hey, Bird, would you like a guest post? Bird, no, my name's Sarah. Go away. So if you're sitting there thinking, oh, this site's called Birds on the Blog, it must be owned by somebody called Bird. Look on the About page.
Yep.
You need somebody's real name. Nobody would say an email to you saying, hey, Sparks, do you want a guest post from us? Or maybe you do get those.
Yeah, better to just say hi than to say hi, Bird.
Yeah.
So there's a whole section here. You'll just say what the module is, say what's going to be covered in there, and then you hop into the first lesson. And then you talk about the learning objective, conduct the research that'll help you build a relationship. And then you go through, and your last slide is those action steps, which in this particular one has a lot, because you're starting to fill in, or you pick one blog you've already identified on that guest blogging pitch sheet, which I showed you before as an Excel spreadsheet where you keep track of all the blogs that you're pitching and the ideas that you've pitched and what got accepted and all of that, because you need to really keep track of that, because it's important that you never write the same post on more than one blog. One blog, guest blog, gets a unique, fresh post that is not published anywhere else. That's really important. I had someone ask for something once, or no, they were giving us a blog post, wasn't it?
That's right.
Yes, they were giving us something, and I looked at it, it's like, oh, this is really interesting. This will be a good one to post. And then I went back to look at their blog, and they had it on their blog. Like, well, why would I publish it on my blog if you already have it on your blog?
So, and it was a shame because it was a really good post, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. And I don't accept a lot of guest blog posts unless they really make sense. But this was going to be a guest expert. So just make sure it's always fresh. Cheryl, don't drink water with Sarah.
I should come with a health warning, but unfortunately I don't.
All right. So where was I? Now I've lost track. So module 2. So I'm going to jump in a minute, head over to module 3 that you want to talk about, Sarah, which is all about writing the guest post. But this module 2 is all actually brainstorming ideas and pitching them. So you've got brainstorming post ideas to pitch. There's some examples in here. This is a great place to customize, because depending on who your audience is, you want to give them examples of different topics. So there are some in here. Great place to switch out and customize to your audience, because I know everybody wants to keep it unique. So the whole format's here for your course, the whole flow, the action steps, everything else. All you have to do is go in and maybe add a few insights and stories of your own, like Sarah's telling about, and I'm sharing, guest blogging experiences just off the top of our heads. We haven't even prepared this. And then, well, maybe one or two. But then examples. So that kind of thing you can figure out in advance as well. So you've got some tips in here. You can always add tips of your own from your experience, or use the course, go through, do a guest blog post, and then you'll have experience right away. And then we get into, let's see, lesson 3 is actually making a connection. We give you a guest blog pitch template. Here's the format for pitching people. We talked about that a little bit already, and how important that is, and like using a person's name. Greet the editor, blogger, owner by name. First point.
Very important.
Yes.
Don't assume you know that name. Check their about page.
Exactly. And then we've got finding contact information, how you can do that. So don't be lazy. A lot of people just sort of generate stuff. There's a bunch of don'ts, like don't spam them with messages. Don't keep sending one email after another. If they haven't responded after a couple of emails, they're not going to respond. Don't leave it at 1, because they may not have seen the first one.
Yeah, I think you need to send more than one, simply because so many are SEO companies and they use tools and they auto-generate things. So the first one, you're just going to get deleted. Somebody's not going to actually read it because they're, oh gosh, another spammer, bang, and you're in the bin. So you need to follow up with that. But if you use their name properly and you don't sound like a spammer, you're going to be quite surprised at the response you get, because there are just so many bad pitches.
Yep. So pay attention to that. Follow up without becoming a nuisance. So that's another thing. They have guidelines. Anyone who does accept guest posts on a regular basis will have guidelines on their site as to what you can do. So make sure you follow that. And let's see, read their guidelines, limit it. Those are just sort of a summary of all of that. And then there's action steps. And here is your favorite module,
Yay!
Sarah.
You are going to love this. When you look on the sales page, if you go to the frequently asked questions, you'll see there's a little bit there that says, how can I do a low ticket offer with this? And how can I do a high ticket offer? And this was something that come from the recent survey that Sharon sent out, and you might have filled it in, that people wanted to know how they could take some of the content and make a low ticket offer, and how they would turn something into a high ticket offer. So based on your feedback, right at the bottom, at the very, very bottom, there it is. Ta-da!
Maybe we should move that up. Okay.
Is how you can create a low ticket offer with this and what you would need to create a high ticket offer. So if you were looking to create a low ticket offer, I recommend, why don't you pull out module 3 on the Standout guest post, because I think you can easily record the 3 or 4 lessons in it in less than 90 minutes. You can brand it, pull out the bits, and actually create a fantastic low ticket offer. Because if somebody's wanting to know how to write the guest post, you can bet all the money in the world that they're looking at guest blogging and they're looking at it really seriously. So they're not, oh, maybe I'll guest blog, maybe I won't. These are people that are really, really interested in guest blogging, and you're going to show them how to write the post. And this makes a fantastic something that you can sell for $27 and then upsell the rest of the program as the core offer. So if you're focusing on the low ticket offer angle, this is the module that you can pull out and create something really powerful. No, I didn't say that. You can't do that. This is all for me. You just go and do module 1. But this is teaching people how to write a high quality blog post is something that is really, really beneficial. So even if they don't go on and become a guest blogger, they'll be really grateful to you for teaching them how to write a really high quality blog post.
Yep.
Because if you look around and you see what people say when it comes to writing a high quality blog post, it's must have 600 words, must give all green lights on Yoast, and you just, if you blog on a regular basis, your eyes are in the back of your head at this point, looking at your brain. You're just like, that's not what works. So this is really, really powerful. And it's something that you can do yourself. You can write 2 or 3 really high quality posts yourself and pitch them out, boost your own SEO, and then come back and sell it as an expert. So I think it's a really, really good one to pull out for a low ticket offer. I think it's something that really will help your audience. And I think it's something you can use yourself.
And actually, looking at, these are some of the key points for writing a standout guest post. Some of these sound, I would say, obvious, and yet I've received blog posts back and they don't have this, like the goal of the post top of mind, starting with a strong lead. Most of the time, they don't have a strong lead. Breaking up the information. I get blog posts that are just paragraph after paragraph. I mean, come on, I can't read that. Proofread. Oh my God, this drives me crazy. In Word, if you are writing a post, it will highlight where a comma should be, where something is misspelled. You don't always agree with it, but there are some very simple things that should be flagged up that you should not be making mistakes on. And it's good to have someone else proofread it as well, because some things you just don't notice. Your eyes glaze over because you've been looking at content versus things like grammar. That's why even if you're a writer, you should have someone else proofread something.
My most common one is typing and doing AMD instead of AND. And you're right, you go word blind. You just don't notice it's there. You didn't do it intentional. It just happens. And you just look a bit of an idiot when you send it in.
Yep. And the SEO and links and stuff is something that's really important because it's going to help that blog post get ranked, which you want. Even though it's on someone else's blog, you want that to get ranked because it has links. It should have a link in the bio back to you. But one of the things where it says here, add links, one of the things with SEO, and we talk about this in our SEO master, whatever it's called, masterclass, about the importance of having external links. That helps it rank in Google. So the links isn't just about your link, that's in your bio. It's about links to other pages on that person's website and links to other places like good resources. So make sure it's informational, not self-promotional. These are all really important parts of writing a good blog post on any site, yours or a guest one. So there's a little bit of detail about each one of those points in the lesson on, and then there's the action steps where they actually do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the headline in CTA. Now, this is interesting because some people always start with the headline, and that's fine, but it's a working headline, a working subject line, or whatever you want to call it, title, blog post title. You want to often go back and tweak that and play with that. And I do that with the introduction as well, that strong lead, because it's much easier after you've finished it to go back and reword it and make it more interesting. Same with the headline and your call to action, because everything has to have a call to action, even if it's just go here to find out more, or check out this, or give me a call, that kind of thing. So that's really important to look at. And there's lots of details about that. We're not going to go through all of it unless you really want to. Stuff on call to action. And then the bio. So this is key. Brief. And every guest blog, everywhere you guest blog, is going to have guidelines on that. So you have to follow and make sure you check out their guidelines. They may have a certain word count. They may say, okay, you can only have 300 words and usually one link to something. If they're not allowing a link back to your site, it's probably a place you don't want to guest blog.
The link is your payment.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're not going to be paid cash. You're not going to be given dollars, but your payment is your link.
Exactly.
And some people obsess over having do follow links. I'm personally in that I don't care what kind of link it is. It's a link. Because whilst it may be no follow, human beings click that link. So you may not get the Google juice for it and increase your SEO score, but you may get people click on that link and come over to your site and become a subscriber. So it's really powerful to include that and not worry. Just include it and release it into the universe to do its job. That's very profound of me, isn't it? I better drink another drop of water.
Absolutely. All right, no laughing while you do that. And you can see that we just put these onto graphics in here. You can play with those, but down below there in the underneath each slide are your notes you can use for when you're actually presenting this or recording or teaching. Some notes to help you with your script. All right, and just make it sound like you. So this says keep it close to 50 words for your bio. Some may let you do more than that.
Oh, let me tell you another story.
Absolutely.
Back in the days when I had my bird blog, I had lots of mum bloggers pitch me guest posts. And I said to one of them, she seemed a really lovely lady, sure, send me over your guest post. And it was about strollers. We call them buggies here in the UK. Right. So it was about 100 words on why her buggy was the best buggy in the world. And then 700 words about her qualifications, her credentials, and everything else. So the bio was like 5 times the size of the actual content. And I'm like, oh no. But she seemed so nice when we were talking. So if your bio is bigger than your guest post, it's going to be thrown in the bin.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of that too. You see that on a lot of websites. You go there, it looks like it's going to be a great article, a great resource. You start reading through, there's 3 paragraphs, and then there's all their qualifications that go on for the next page.
And then you have to scroll because you're still not done.
And I think, wait, is there more? Is there more? Is this it? That was the whole post? That was useless.
Yeah. We don't think, oh, let's click the link. We think we've been robbed. Okay.
Yeah. Did I really just waste all my time on that page? Yeah. So remember that you get, there isn't a straight word count, but a lot of guest posts, places where you can guest blog will have some sort of word count in there and rules. So make sure you know what those rules are. This section that we're looking at is just about the bio itself and some points on that. If you do have big brand names, go for it. Personalize. This is actually really a good point too. So you'll have a standard bio that you write, but you should personalize it a bit based on where you're posting, if it makes sense. All right. So make sure you don't have to use that same bio every single time. You can tweak it a bit based on where you're doing the post. All right. The other module that I know, Sarah, is also close to your heart is on how to be a valuable guest blogger. And I think you mentioned to me before that not a lot of courses talk about this.
No, they don't. And I've been around the blogging block for a long time, just like you have, Sharon. And I've seen a lot of guest blogging courses. And the thing I love the most about this is how comprehensive it is. It's so somebody can get a result. Now, if you don't know how to be a good guest, then you're not going to get more opportunities, because bloggers talk and they talk to each other. And, you know, me and Sharon, we blog on our own sites, we've guest posted, we've done all sorts. And she said to me, oh, have you heard of so-and-so? I said, oh, I've read an article by her. You know, it's natural conversation. So if you're not a particularly good guest, you're going to come up negatively. I'll be, oh, yeah, I've heard of them. They called me Bird. And then after we've finished laughing for 10 minutes, the person goes in the bin. So you want to make sure that you're a good guest, because good guests get opportunities. Because Sharon will say, are you still in touch with her? I'll say, yeah. And she'll say, oh, introduce me then. And it's as simple as that. So once your name starts getting out there and you're a good guest, you'll find that opportunities for guest posts, people start knocking on your door asking for you and asking you to do content. And at that point, when they're knocking on your door, you can say, I'm no longer guest posting, but I do commissions. So if you'd like to commission me for an article, and that's how you can lever it into paid opportunities for yourself if you want to. Now, you don't have to. I will write a guest post for pretty much anybody that asks with a relevant site, because I know how powerful it is. And I think if you ask Sharon nicely and your course, your site is on course creation, she will have a guest post for you too.
Yep.
And that can be you. You'll be in a position where you can pick and choose, and it's all because you're a good guest. Yep. So making the blog host job easier. We were talking about this prior. I'm not stopping for breath. So if you're waiting for me to pause, you're going to, you know the law, jump in.
No, I'm interested. Yeah.
And how we were talking about it before we jumped on was, if you go to a party around somebody else's house, you don't walk in the door, look around and say, hey, everybody, this is a really nice house, but my house is better. Let's all go to my house and drink my beer instead, and drink my wine, because it's much nicer than this house. If you wouldn't do it in the real world, why would you do it on somebody's blog? And that's the thing. If you're being a good guest, you've got to behave like you would in the real world. You wouldn't walk into somebody's party and say, this is a horrible party. Let's all go back to my place and drink my wine and my beer, because it's much nicer and much better and I'm a nicer person. If you wouldn't do that in real life, and I'm pretty sure as your content sparks people you wouldn't, you shouldn't do it on somebody else's blog. As in, you don't say at the end of your post, I'm the best SEO person in the world, if you're on somebody else's SEO blog. If you said that on mine, I'm going to throw you in the bin. I don't care whether it's true or not. I'm just like, nah, in the bin. And you can have built up all of the relationship, and you can have done all of the hard work, and you can blow it just by being a really lousy guest. So this is really important. And I think it's something that really adds to your course, because like I said, it's a really comprehensive program. And if you're planning on selling this for less than a couple of $100, I think you're shooting yourself in the foot, because I think this is it's so good that you should be selling this at $297 and getting it easily. Well, you're going to show how to turn it into high ticket now.
Yep. Because remember near the bottom of the sales page, we have the ideas for low ticket offer and the ideas for a high ticket offer. So there's a bunch of stuff in there right on the sales page. And then actually what a curriculum could be too. So what you could add it with. So things like, you can't really see that here, but there are some other courses of ours that you could put together. So there's a lot of information there that you should make sure you look at if you need ideas as well. But let's not go too far down that line right now. We're talking about being a valuable guest blogger, making their life easier. Make sure it is all these different things that you can't see, be accurate, low maintenance, punctual, polite, all those things, again, just like being a guest anywhere, really important.
Yeah.
And then reciprocate and collaborate. So again, you've got the house example. If you go to somebody's party or somebody invites you to dinner, you should reciprocate. Or at
invite
least
them back.
Exactly. And you can collaborate with people. So this is really good if you have had a successful guest blog post, continuing that relationship and following up. So the course goes through that, making sure you promote the person's post when it goes live. So all you have to do is you publish something you want to post, share it on your social media, in your email, say, hey, I just published a post on such and such blog, check it out, because it's not going to be something that you have on your own blog. So you do want to send people to it. Remember, you're doing something unique when you're guest posting.
It's authority by association. If you're good enough to do this for somebody else, you must be really good.
Exactly. Yeah. Makes you look, oh, somebody actually invited you to post on their site. Sounds good. Trust and credibility. You can, depending on the site that you've posted on, you might want to have an as seen on logo or banner. A lot of sites let you do that. You'll see big names, obviously, like when somebody posts on Inc. magazine, or there's some others that often accept different guest blog posts, Entrepreneur, places like that. So you can put those on your website.
And really importantly, there it says, don't forget to ask permission. Some logos are trademarked. And if you use that logo without permission, you can be breaking all kinds of trademark and copyright laws. So do ask permission and say, is it okay if I share a screenshot of your logo on my site and link it to the guest post so people can see it? Most places say yes. I say most places. I've had one or two say no. Notably, Forbes said no. They wanted me to spend, I think it was $300 or thereabouts to have an official branded plaque and permission to use their logo. I said no thanks.
But that's why you see it everywhere.
Yeah.
Because you can just pay and post something. That's how they get people, and that's how you can see so many people who have Forbes as seen on Forbes. Because it sounds great, but you have to be willing to pay, and maybe worth it.
Oh, I didn't pay for this. They'd selected me as one of the top websites in the world. But when I wanted to display their logo, they wanted to charge me to display the logo. And that was like, nah.
Yeah, I've seen those before too. Get invited to be in the list of the top whatever, and then but you have to pay for that. Yeah, that's an interesting business model as well. Yeah. Engage with their followers. Oh, this is another thing. Also, make sure that you follow up any comments. So pay attention to people commenting on your post, that you answer them. That's really, really important to do. You don't want to just have people commenting and then you disappeared. And this gives you a chance to build some relationships too with people. And people see the comments, they see you've answered, gives you more credibility, gives you a chance to create some relationships. So that's really important. And then there's a final module on tracking and measuring your results. So you're going to see if you got better results from some blogs versus others. You want to try and go back and post again, just guest blogging in general, whether it's doing anything for you. So you want to make sure you do all of that based on your goals, your traffic, all that fun stuff. So there's a whole module that goes through that.
I think at the very least of it, I would say it builds your confidence. Out of all of the things that you can do, if you do any kind of writing, you know that it's bearing your soul, and everybody's a writer critique, and everybody takes pot shots. So if you go out into the world and you guest post, and you guest post on 10 places, and you survive the roasting that you get from some random person on the internet who's took umbrage to the Oxford comma, then you know you survived that, and you've got through that, and you come through it stronger. You've won over a group of fans who've seen how you've dealt with that conflict online, and you have won over people to come into your site. And that kind of confidence you only learn by doing.
Exactly.
Mm.
Yep. And all you have to do is a few, and you're going to have that.
Yeah.
And there's some final things in here at the very end. I know our time is going out quickly, so I'm going to wrap up this main bit, the main course. I've showed you a lot of stuff. If you came in late, you can always go back and rewatch where I showed some other things, and we had a lot of tips, and Sarah had a lot of stories to tell. But I want to just show a couple other things in here. So are we good on the main course here?
I believe we are. What I will say is, if you're short of an expert to come and talk about guest blogging, you know where we are. Ask us nicely. We might give you 20 minutes of our time to reassure your audience and share some war stories in exchange for a backlink back to our site. You know, free lunches, yeah?
Remember that link. Okay, so let us go back to the materials. And what shall we look at? So there's the lead generation materials. In these first few days of the launch, what we always do is we take that, or at least for these Blaze packages, these bigger packages, we take that opt-in report and make it into a ready-to-go challenge. And this is something that you want to get because otherwise we make it a paid thing later. So this is how you get it for free. So the lead gen is just, you have this opt-in report that I think is called, it's like a high level, get your first guest blog post published. So you can see it's going to give some basics so people who are able to can maybe get their first one done on their own. It's 15 pages, 2,000 words. The main course is closer to 12,000 words. So that gives you a sense of the difference between a short little report and the whole main course. You're giving the first few basic steps, but we take this and we make it into a bonus just during the early bird bonus as a challenge. And I'm going to open that up. There are worksheets that go with it. And then we've broken it up so that you have kind of an overview that you can use as an introduction to your challenge. And then there's some instructions in here. And then there's an email for each day. So you can't really read it, but that's okay. When you get the course, you'll be able to. And it goes through, this is the sort of thing you can do as an email or as a live stream or as both. So you can send somebody the email and say, okay, we're going to be talking about it today. And then go on and use the slides from your lead generation material and do a little live stream where you talk about their steps for that day and give them the worksheet. And then you do the next day. So it's very, very step by step. Do it over 5 days. Give them a link. Have a little community set up on Facebook or elsewhere. We've used New Zenler for that. And it works well also. Facebook is great as well. And you just go through day by day, gives them the first few steps, gets them started. If they're really good action takers, they'll get something going. They'll write their pitch email and they'll write a guest post. But there's so much more to it than that, to actual guest blogging. And that's where you'll introduce your course, which is a natural step. That's why these challenges are so great and why people love them, because your challenge participants get some real value. They get started. They'll get some little quick wins. They'll have a guest post written. They'll have pitched a few blogs, gotten started, but there's so much more involved. They need more help. If they want to go in depth and really take action, they're going to want to sign up for your course. And there are a couple extra emails at the end that we put in that will help you with promoting your course at the end of the challenge. So this is a bonus that you get if you get the main course in the first few days. I think it's 6 days.
And that looks really, really good, because it's a way of growing your email list, getting people excited about guest blogging, and then using that excitement to launch your course and launch it successfully with a nice, happy group of people. And it also reduces your refund rates, I've noticed, because people know what they're getting. They know your teaching style. They know a bit more about you. And if you're worried that you're not going to be able to have the course ready in time, you can deliver it live to them. They've just interacted with you for 5, 6, 7, 8 days, or whatever you've strung it out to. So for them to do a program with you live while you record it and then edit it afterwards and upload it is no big deal for them, because they're used to doing that with you. So it's really, really good way of building your email list and selling and launching your courses.
Yeah, and if they don't get your course right away, you have them on your email list through the challenge. You're going to continue to stay in contact with them, even if it's just once a week, sending some tips. And they may sign up for something the next time you run it, or some other program of yours, because they enjoyed interacting with you. And just one tip, you talked about selling the course even though it's ready and then recording it as you go. Just a little tip on that, get your Q&A at the end. So I did this recently with a challenge that we did on creating challenges. Actually did it with Kevin for the New Zenler crowd and a whole bunch of people. And what we did is introduced, I went through the content, and that was the end, and wrapped up. And then we had Q&A. So the main content became a video. If you start doing questions and stuff during your recording, and then you're selling that afterwards as a course, as the recorded course, people are going to feel gypped. They're going to feel cheated because they didn't get to have the Q&A. But if you do it as a straight recording and then do your Q&A, you can do it live and use the recordings. And then when you sell it as a recorded course, you can add in that live Q&A in there, if you do it based on scheduled sessions, and just say, okay, watch this video, do the action steps, and then come back tomorrow and we'll do a Q&A. Or send in your questions if it's just a straight email thing, and I'll answer your questions, or have a community where they post their questions and stuff. So lots of ways you can do it. But the important thing is, if you're delivering it live, do your Q&A at the end. Okay? That works out really well. So that was the challenge. And I mentioned there's worksheets as well to go with each step. These are much simpler ones because you're just doing it as a 5-day challenge where they're not going to have a ton. You want them to be able to do those actions each day whenever you do a challenge. Don't load them up with action steps. You can have more action steps with a course, though you'll break it up into individual lessons again to prevent overwhelm. So it's really important with all of this stuff that you think through the whole picture, the whole experience. That's why we design them the way we do, so that you don't have to mess with that part of it, and you can just think about putting in your own insights and stories. All right. Anything else on here, since we're running out of time? If anyone has questions, be sure to pop them in. Even if you're watching the replay, we should be able to see them, especially on Facebook if you tag us. It's a little harder to see them in YouTube if you're watching there, but you can always tag us in Facebook or send a question to support at contentsparks.com. So if you have questions, you can do it there. That's our support. But also, that is the URL again, and I can go back. Is there anything else you wanted me to open up, Sarah?
No, I was just going to say, you've got to remember that guest blogging is, if things are scaled between 1 to 5, with 5 being really difficult and 1 being really easy. Guest blogging is a 3 activity. It's not super hard, but it's not easy. Yeah. And lots of people require help with it. Simple little things like referring to people by the wrong name, not being able to be a good guest. They make so many mistakes, and you can help them create a really good guest blogging breakthrough, because the chances are the people that have bought your course have tried to guest blog and been really unsuccessful. And it is a really fantastic program. It's really comprehensive, and it gives people the skills that they'll be able to guest blog and create content that sucks in the traffic back to their site. And you're going to be teaching them this. And I found out there's this wonderful Roman philosopher called Seneca. And Seneca says, if you want to learn something, you have to teach it, because to learn it is to teach it. So if you're sitting here thinking, oh, I've never done that, it might be a little bit difficult, you've got to do what Seneca tells you. 2,000 years later, I'm still quoting him. And and that is to teach it, because as you go through it, and as you try things yourself, and as you go through the content, you'll find little bits that you can refine from your own experience, and little things that you can do to help your audience get great results. So if you're sitting here thinking, oh, that's too difficult, I'll never teach that, I've never done that, it's just you're talking yourself out of doing a fantastic thing for your audience.
Yep.
And I'm not going to let you do that.
And we have in the FAQ some differences, something between SEO Masterclass and guest blogging breakthrough. We have other courses where there's certain overlap, like blogging mastery and being a guest on podcasts, which are both on our suggestions page on sale. Also, there's always a little overlap and differences, and don't worry about any overlap, like the fact that we always say identify your ideal customer, because it's a little different each time. And every time people do it, and I do it myself, you come up with some refinements, new information, a different angle. So it's important to do that. Whenever I go through these courses, I learn something new. Even if I already thought I knew a lot about the topic, I learned something new because it gets you thinking about it in a different context. So here we're thinking about it as a guest blogging context, looking at your ideal customer. Okay, I'm going to be posting on someone else's blog we want them to have a similar audience. They don't have to be exactly the same. How am I going to angle this post so that I'm appealing to them, but it's still the people I want to come back to my site? So it's going to get you thinking a little bit differently. So it's really important to make sure you reinforce things that you've taught in other courses, talk about them from a different angle. That's why it's really important to have more than one course also that builds on each other, because you can refer back, you can reinforce, and then introduce new concepts and new skills. So that's actually in those FAQs also on the sales page, talking about as part of a curriculum, doing a series. So look out for that too. What else? You know what? I just lost a thought that I was going to say about this figures, because you were talking, Sarah.
Sorry. I do think this is a fantastic program, and I think it's something that you can teach, even if what you do is you teach yourself and then go out on a guest blogging spree. Because just doing this is going to impact your website and grow your audience so significantly.
Yeah, and that was actually the thing I was going to say is I came across Danny Inney. You know that name from Miracy.
I just posted for him.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah.
Well, he did, one of his first courses he did was called Write Like Freddie. I think it was called, or Blog Like Freddie. I think it was Write Like Freddie, Freddie Krueger.
Yeah.
And it was all about guest blogging, because that's how he really got started, was just doing tons and tons of guest blog posts all over the place. And that was his first course, guest blogging. And
Yeah.
and he did really, really well with that. And then he grew from there, just kept on going and adding new things. Now he's Miracy. I think before it was he duct tape marketing?
Fire
Is that
pole
him?
marketing.
Oh, fire pole marketing. I knew it was one of those. Yeah, he changed the name. And actually now he specializes in course creation and coaching and stuff. But anyway, he started with the guest blogging. And then, as you said, you found me through a guest blog post that I did, I think, on a site that was about PLR.
I can't remember. I just remember it had
Yeah.
a sort of Red World logo. And I read your article and I thought, oh, that's good. And I clicked the link and became a customer.
Yeah.
You know, Cheryl's just saying she's in one of Danny's courses right now.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I did a workshop with him a little while back, and met him at something. But I did a workshop with him, which was great. He's really good, very insightful.
I also did Write Like Freddie, but I didn't meet Sharon there. And several years later, I did a guest post on Firepole, but he moved it to Miracy. And that was on riffing on other people's content. And as far as I'm aware, it's still there.
Yeah, this stuff stays out there. It's evergreen. It's going to keep things going, and it helps your SEO and all that wonderful stuff. So definitely take a look at this. It's something that you're going to want to do yourself and help others do. And as Sarah said, when you do it and teach it, that's when you really get to know it. And Cheryl said, "Great minds hang out together."
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. I'm going to sign off because I know we've got to get going and our time is up. So again, if you're just logged in to see this, you can go back and the replay should be ready almost right away, wherever you're watching. And you can post comments or just send in questions to support@contentsparks.com. That's the URL. Let us know if you have any questions at all. All right. I'm going to sign off. So take care, everybody. We will see you soon.